One of the ways that New York State has attempted to solve its drug problems has been to commit heroin addicts, with their consent or without their consent, to state supervision for a couple of years. So far, this method doesn't seem to be doing much to solve anybody's drug problems. Most of the addicts who have been committed in this way have gone back to using drugs soon after their release. But a few of these addicts seem to feel that the approach may hold some hope. Barbara started using heroin 2 years ago. She doesn't use it now and says she never will again. Here's her report of her experience at the Manhattan Rehabilitation Hospital.
I'm an only child, and my mother raised me by myself because her and my father were separated when I was a baby. I always had whatever I wanted. I had a respectable home. And the only difficulty was that a lot of times she didn't understand me. Like, I couldn't really sit down and say, well, Mommy, this is how I feel, and she'd understand. Now, I've been singing since I can remember. And I used to sing on the radio for the Police Athletic League. And I sang at Robert Morgenthau's inauguration, and Bob Kennedy was there. I sang at the Academy of Music on a show with Ed Sullivan. I sang at the Apollo. And I've just been singing all my life. Like, before I started using drugs, I had went to Europe. I was singing in Europe. And I really loved it over there. And I really didn't want to come back. And my mother wanted me to come back. I had made her a promise when I went that if I liked it, I would come back home first. And then I'd go back. And so I came back not wanting to, like in the middle of everything, when everything good was happening to me. And I didn't like it here. Nothing I did could hold. I was just bored with everything I did. And maybe when somebody suggested drugs to me, maybe I said, oh, well. Maybe after that I didn't care, that I didn't dig being here, and that I just really didn't want to be here. Some people had came over to this fellow that I was going with. They had came over to his house. And they said, why don't you try it? And I said, oh, no, I'm scared of that. And they said, oh, come on, it's nothing to it, And one thing led into another, and I tried it. The first 3 months that I was messing around with it, I caught sort of a little habit, and I went into a hospital. And after that, I was doing pretty good. When I came out, I got a job like the next day. But like, off and on, I would mess around with it. When I think back about it, I say, how did I ever? But the fact is that I did. Like, I had stopped singing. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything but wasting away. A lot of people that I sort of grew up with in a way, they were dying, young people. And my mother got frightened naturally. And it just seemed to start spreading everywhere all of a sudden. And so I guess somebody told my mother about this place, and she signed me in here. 3 policemen brought me here. My mother had called them, I guess, and told them that I was at the house. And they fought with me, and they were very nasty to me. I just couldn't believe it was happening to me. And then being locked up for the first time, it was terrifying, everything was a lock and key, and everybody told you what to do, when to do, and how to do it. I felt absolutely terrible about myself. It was like a jail to me. And most of the people are here against their will, and everybody's hostile. And they just want to blow up at you, and it's really terrible. And I really didn't think I had any problems and any hang-ups. I really thought this. And, I really didn't belong here. And then I got introduced to group therapy, And I found myself beginning to talk, and talk about myself. And then I started trying to deal and see just what kind of problems I did have. I found out that I was a great fantasizer. And I sort of lived more in my fantasy world than I lived in reality. And I just shut out all the ugliness. And I found out how much holding things in that I felt and things that I wanted to say could really mess me up. You know, that they just build and build. Maybe I thought I'd be ugly if I expressed bad feelings. Like anger, sadness, any type of way that you feel, you should be able to express it. You know, because sitting on it only makes it worse. When I finally saw that there was no way that I could get out of here, I just decided that I wouldn't just stay here for a year and rot for the whole year, that I would do something with it. I got involved with the music teacher that they had here, and I started performing a lot. We gave shows here, and we went to other facilities and gave shows. And I decided that I'd like to work and start saving up some money for when I go home, you know, to help me with school. I want a degree for my music, because I'd like to become a great singer, but I may not. And I'd like to teach music. I know maybe when I went back out, maybe I would have went to drugs immediately. But like now I feel that I have so much to work with. And I feel like this now, and I hope that I stay like this the rest of my life. That drugs just isn't worth losing all that for. 'Cause you can't have both. Drugs, they destroy you. Mentally, physically, spiritually. In any way you can think of, that's the way drugs destroy you.